new Fox News poll show Donald Trump leading Kamala Harris by 2 points nationally. This is a flip from the same survey last month. The former president with his best numbers since Harris became the nominee. The new polling coming as Vice President Harris got into a heated exchange with Fox News' Bret Baier in her first ever Fox News interview last night, avoiding responsibility for the crisis at the border.
I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you,
now,
just a number, do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point.
When in your mind did it start becoming a crisis?
I think we've had a broken immigration system transcending, by the way, Donald Trump's administration, even before.
Harris also avoiding apologizing directly to the families of the young women murdered by illegal migrants on her watch as border czar.
You owe
Brett,
those families an apology.
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. And I can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims have experienced.
Harris only said she was so sorry for her loss to Jocelyn Nunguri's mother. Jocelyn was a 12-year-old girl murdered allegedly by 2 Venezuelan illegal migrants with possible ties to that violent gang Tren de Aragua. The border questions, I thought, really hit home because this is an issue that we talk about every day. The impact of the open border policy, Lee, has had just, it's been so stark. So your reaction to the interview?
So my reaction to the interview, in particular, let's just start with immigration. I think she was a complete fail in how she responded to that. Immigration is a huge concern to Americans. He asked some very direct and pointed questions, and I don't think she gave a satisfactory answer. For me, I think the real thing to take away from this interview, if you loved her, you probably were glad that she was feisty and fought back. If you hated her, you came away saying that she did a terrible job. If you're undecided, she didn't win your vote. She did not answer the underlying question that undecided voters have. And I was so glad that Bret Baier asked this question, which is 79% of the country say this is going the wrong direction. This is you. You're owning this. So what are you going to do different? And she still cannot answer that in a way that's satisfactory. And then when she had the opportunity to tell us what she might do, she said, go to KamalaHarris.com and look at my 80 pages of policies. Who is going to do that? It was people's number one concern is immigration and the economy, how she's going to fight prices. She had an opportunity to outreach to voters that she otherwise wouldn't. And her tone was aggressive, and I don't think that she opened up to people who were a little bit close to her. So I give her a lot of credit for coming on Fox News. I give her a lot of credit for doing the interview. But then to get there and be that defensive, I think it was a real missed opportunity for her.
It was a missed opportunity, and it also showed that she doesn't want to answer the questions.
Correct.
We all know that the border has had these terrible implications for American citizens, and yet she doesn't take any responsibility. She keeps going back to that Senate border bill. Bret did a masterful job. He kept coming back to her and pushing back, and yet she had no answers.
Well, she didn't answer a single question. She kept pivoting to Orange Man Bad. I mean, that's the only playbook she knows how to run. And to be honest, I mean, if she just wanted to get on her soapbox for 20 or 30 minutes, not answer a single question, and just talk about how great she is and how bad Donald Trump is, she should have bought infomercial time. Because, I mean, that's what she tried to do with the interview. You mentioned she came across feisty. I agree. But, you can't be vying for the most important position in the world and not expect to have your feet held to the fire. And Bret did a wonderful job of attempting to hold her feet to the fire because she has been in office for the last 3.8 years or whatever it's been. And her only response to that, when Bret said, hey, you've been in office for 3.5 years, her response was, Donald Trump has been running for office. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
What is that supposed to mean?
And she said the last 10 years of what? 10 years.
Right.
She claimed it was Donald Trump's rhetoric after shirking any responsibility for the border crisis under her nearly 4 years as vice president and border czar. Baier pivoted to Harris's support of taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for prison inmates and detained illegal migrants. Harris claimed that the surgeries also happened under Trump's administration. And then she said this, watch.
Well, you know what? You got to take responsible for what happened in your administration.
You have to be responsible for what happened in your administration, Michael. And she is not acting responsible for what happened in her administration at the border.
This always raises the big question. So what is the role of the vice president? Were you just standing there watching everything happen and having no impact whatsoever? So should we discount any time that you spent in the White House? You know, in her interview, in politics, we refer to the way she answers as having filler. She uses fillers. She doesn't actually go right to the question because she's trying to either formulate the answer, which is kind of ridiculous this late in the campaign that you got to formulate answers. You should have vetted all those responses. Or she's just trying to evade what the questions are. None of this gives anybody the confidence that you've thought through this and you have a plan. Other than her saying, you know what, let's just pivot to the things I've got on my website. But the last point is this, she's still missing the point on the border. It's not just about what it's doing to the American people. It's a national security issue.
Yeah.
And she's never talked about that.
Yeah, that's right. All these people who have come in unvetted. And just the other day, we learned that the Afghan national who was trying to do a terrorist attempt on Election Day was not vetted. Harris also dodged the question when asked why half the country is backing Trump if he's so bad, like she said. She kept going back to him, saying Trump is bad, Trump this, Trump that. I mean, after every question. And he said, let's look at the polls. 52% of the country is supporting him. She's referring to the president's interview with me. Just days ago, she went to when he said the enemy within. And here's what Trump actually said when I asked him about outside agitators. Are you expecting chaos on Election Day?
No, I don't think so. Not from the side that votes for Trump.
But I'm just wondering if these outside agitators will start up on Election Day.
The bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. And we have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military, because they can't let that happen.
Harris snapped at Baier last night when he pressed her further on her claims.
He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it.
You know, this is really ironic given the fact that they're trying to lock Trump up. Okay, look at all of these indictments from the very people who met with the DOJ reportedly, and yet she's saying that he wants to lock people. I don't know really what she's talking about there, Lee.
I think it's absolutely fascinating, this turn on that phrase, the enemy from within. People are so obsessed with that phrase. We're hearing it over and over again. That's one of the clips that's gone viral from your interview. Now, what is it that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have been talking about MAGA Republicans for the last 4 years? What about the speech where Joe Biden got up with a red lighting and talked about the threat of the radical MAGA Republicans and what they're doing? And when people talk about January 6th, they want the full force of the military after these folks. They wanted everything that Donald Trump just said about what the enemy was from within. So why is the double standard there? Why the outrage? We were talking about, or you were talking about, outside agitators.
That's right.
They were not talking about just peaceful protesters, not talking about Americans with different opinions. He was talking about outside agitators, the very same thing people were talking about with January 6th, and the double standard is outrageous.
And I'm glad that we ran my question there, because the media has conveniently lost the whole idea of the question and is trying to suggest that Trump said he's going to get the National Guard after Adam Schiff. That's not what he said. He came back to the point of the question at the end. So thank you for running the question, producers. We will be right back with a lot more. Stay with us.